So to simplify this fraction, you've got to take the least common denominator, which my guess is going to be x plus 1 times x minus 3. That's probably how this factors. Let's just see if that works. Sure enough, that works. If you FOIL that back out, that's what you've got there. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by x minus 1, or x plus 1, x minus 3. What I'm basically doing is I'm doing this. Remember, if you had 3/4, you could multiply 3/4 by 2 over 2, and you'd get what? 6/8, which is the same thing, right? Or you could, so all I'm doing is I'm multiplying the top and bottom of a fraction. Here's my fraction, here's the top, here's the bottom, numerator, denominator, and I'm multiplying them by 2 over 2, like this, but it's in the form of that over that. And the reason I do that is because, well, you'll see, it simplifies this fraction so that it's not a complex fraction anymore, or a compound fraction. It's a simple fraction. So when I multiply this to here, the x plus 1 cancels, and I just get x minus 3. That's my numerator. That's my entire numerator. Then when I multiply this on the bottom, remember, I've got to distribute it to both of these, because after all, that's what I've got there. Right? I'm multiplying it by the entire denominator. When I multiply it here to that first term, that entire thing cancels with the entire thing on the bottom. And I'm left just with 1. Right? Understand that? Because 1 times x plus 1 over x minus 3 times x plus 1 over, times x minus 3. That right there just equals 1. So that's there. That's my 1. And now I multiply it here to that second term. And when I multiply by that, the x minus 3 cancels, and I'm just left with plus, don't forget your plus there, 1 times, I don't have to write the 1, x plus 1. And that very complex fraction, compound fraction, now is really a very simple looking fraction. And I can simplify that a little bit more. There's my answer. Now, when you do that, like we've talked about before, let's remember what x can't equal. Look back at the very beginning. X can't equal -1, and it can't equal +3. So you have to write x cannot equal -1 or +3. That's part of your answer. So this right here, this fraction is this fraction basically. These two fractions, that big thing we started with, and this nice compact little fraction are the exact same thing, except when x is -3 and -1 and +3, because you're not allowed to plug those in to this one, to the first one. So you also aren't allowed to plug them into this last one. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to manipulate this right here than this big thing up there? Yeah, that's the whole point of simplifying it, because you're trying to find a function. You're trying to turn it into a function that's a lot easier to look at. And that's what we did.